All right, welcome. You're watching the Get Busy Livin Podcast. We've got a wonderful guest this morning, and I'm Dr. Scott from Sixth Sense Acupuncture and also the Healthy Habits Club. And we welcome this morning Kerry Hartley. So she's from Kerry Hartley Coaching. And thank you so much for your time today, Kerry. Much appreciated coming on.
Thank you, Dr. Scott. Awesome to be here.
I can't wait to hear some gold nuggets from you today and hear about what you do and what you get up to and how you can help people. So I'll start off with the first question. So tell us, Kerry, what gets you out of bed every morning?
So usually it's the gym. This morning it was a boxing class, but I love to start my day generally with some exercise. I find that when I start the day, getting my body moving, getting the blood pumping, I set myself up for a more productive day and I get my head into the right mindset. So it shifts my energy. I come home to my family and my kids, and I'm often that mum that's singing in the kitchen while I'm making school lunches or being a little bit silly with the kids. And I notice the difference in my energy on the days that I go to the gym and the days that I don't. So it's often the gym. In addition to that, it's just the family. I want to get up. My kids are usually up before us, and I look forward to just getting up and giving my babies a kiss and a cuddle and telling them how much I love them. And then probably the third thing is the to-do list. So I start to think about what's coming up for the day, and I will get up, and I like to start, part of my morning ritual is writing down my to-do list. So I'll have my A list and my B list. It's a bit of a brain dump where I get it all down, make sure that I've got a plan for the day so that I can be productive and intentional with my time. And I find that just clears the mental load for me.
Have you got one? I don't think I've got one anymore. I lost it at some stage. So that's awesome that you want to help the community, and obviously you treasure your family, and that's commendable. So I'm going to move on to the next question then. So tell us, how did you get into coaching, professional coaching?
Yeah, so professional coaching has always been in my blood. So from a very early age, back in my days at Macca's, serving on the front counter, I already found myself in the coaching role, if you like. So then I had 20 years in the corporate finance world where I was a branch manager by 22. And what I loved about my leadership roles in the bank was really the coaching and staff development, which led me into spending 10 years coaching executive leaders, branch managers and leaders throughout different areas of the corporate world, which I enjoyed. And then for me, I took a bit of a career change. So having kids changed everything for me. As I'm sure any mums listening can resonate with, we go from having successful careers, and there's a lot of working mums and dads out there, and the identity of the mum often shifts when we have kids. And for majority of us, we take on that primary caregiver role, which I took as an absolute gift to spend that time with my children, and priorities changed. So for me, it was really moving out of that full-time corporate role, and I found a role that I could work part-time from home that was just fit for purpose to shift focus to raising my children at the time, knowing that those were the most important years of helping guide who my children were going to become. And I didn't want to blink and miss it. I didn't want to be the first to get up and leave in the morning and the last to get home and bring work home with me, bring that mental load. So for me, that was a big shift. And then for us, there was a few challenges that started to come towards the family where I found myself going back into the coaching space. So I got to a stage where the kids had started school and his mum still working part-time from home. And I probably lacked some of that need for significance or contribution or growth. And I thought, what's next for me? What am I doing? And so I dived back into personal development. We had some challenges with extended family, which put a lot of pressure on my family, my marriage, how I was showing up as a mum. And so that's where I turned to personal development and started just really geeking out on it again. Like, I love that stuff. And yeah, it just floats my boat. And then I found the International Coaching School and decided in my 40s that I would become a full-time student and actually get some certifications in life coaching, which today I'm certified as a professional coach and also a clinical hypnotherapist, and get to support other mums like me just get a little bit more direction or clarity or balance in their life. But I just found, for me, coaching was a coming home. I just found my people again. And I'm sure you can resonate when you just find those people that get you and you're all, just drinking the same Kool-Aid. That was probably I found my people in the coaching space. They lifted me up. They brought out the best in me. It just lit me up again and gave me something to get excited about. So that's what coaching gave me. And honestly, when I started as a student, I couldn't envision this being a business. That wasn't on the radar at the time. It was something I was doing for myself. And then the more I got into my studies, the more I realized that I was already helping people and I was already coaching people. I was mentoring a lot of people, and off the back of that, they invited me to join the International Coaching Institute faculty. So now I'm part of the leadership team that gets to help guide the direction, and I get to learn from some phenomenal leaders that are actually out there inspiring change in the world. And I'm just so grateful for where I am right now. And yeah, this has all happened in the last, probably a couple of years when I started my business. So it's been a big change for me.
Telling me. So I'll just back it up. So how did you get into the finance industry? That was your first job, is that right?
Yeah. So I was a manager at Macca's by 17, and getting into finance was really by accident. So I ended up, back in the day, the Commonwealth Bank were doing what they called the aptitude test, where they just invite people along to apply for a position and check if you can dot your I's, cross your T's. Can you, what's your attention to detail like? How do you think? And it was actually my brother that was going along for the aptitude test, and they loved McDonald's staff at the time. So they said, is there anyone else from McDonald's that would be interested in coming along? And so I just showed up, did the aptitude test. A couple of weeks later, had an interview and had handed in my resignation. And for me, it was, at 17, I was responsible for the store. I was responsible for staff. At times I was cleaning a shake and sundae machine at midnight after the store had closed with little toothbrushes. And I was going to what at the time I thought was a 9-to-5 stamp, see you later job, which kind of turned out to be a little bit different. But it was moving into the real professional world where I actually even started on adult wage. And I was like, wow, compared to McDonald's, it was a bit of a step up, and at the time a step down in responsibility.
What do you mean by that?
Well, I went from being the manager of the store at McDonald's at 17 into the Commonwealth Bank, where I was at the time, they were called tellers. So I was, doing deposits
front
and
desk
clients. Yeah. So it was like entry level. So I'd gone from the management back to entry level in a new organisation, although it wasn't my nature to hang out there for too long. So by the time I was 22, I had climbed the ranks and taken over my first branch, which was the Commonwealth Bank at Mitchelton in Brisbane.
Wow.
Yeah.
There you go. At 21. Well done.
22. So I was
22. So 5 years. It took you 5 years. That's pretty quick.
Yeah.
So how did that go?
One of the youngest managers that brought its interesting challenges, or
I was going to say
staff. Yeah,
especially people that are double your age, they'd be like, "What the hell?"
Most of the staff were really receptive and good with me. I think I was the fun branch manager, so at the time I was I really enjoyed my role. I was all about getting my team on board, having that great culture, making work fun, somewhere that we wanted to be. I had done the role of everybody that I was managing. I knew how to pull people together. So the staff were great.
Yeah.
The most challenging part about that role was actually the clients that would walk in and want to speak to the branch manager, and they were looking for an older, grey-haired guy that was going to come out with a suit and tie to shake their hand and take them into the office.
I'm sure
and this
they
young 22-year-old comes out and they're like, no, I want to speak to the manager.
Manager, yeah.
No, I don't want to talk to you. I want to speak to that lady over there or that man over there.
Yeah.
But I was okay with that. I didn't take it personally. I understand that there's a bit of a generational shift. So I would look to help them if I could and reassure them that I was the person that could help them with the authority. However, if they preferred to speak to one of my colleagues, that's okay. And that person can assist them, and then they'll come and check with me if they need my authority for something. It would still come back to me, but I wasn't precious about it's my title, it's my badge. That's fine.
Well, the conversation is going to come up eventually that, I can't make that decision for you. You're going to have to go to Carrie and ask her, what are you talking about, the 22-year-old? Yeah, the 22-year-old, I have to ask her what to do next.
Yeah.
So you got the managerial position, and like you said, you learned a lot. So how long did you stick at that? Did they promote you from there, or did they?
So I had a few different branches that I went to. So I went to a bigger branch, which was at Redcliffe branch at the time. So I had extra staff, obviously more responsibility. It was a bigger business that I was running. I went into Lutwyche branch for a little while. So I was in the branch manager role for about 7 years, and then I went in and supported at the area office. So I did a fair relief in a deputy area manager role. So I was supporting the management of the branch managers. And I was also at that time studying. So I loved financial planning. I just loved the big picture of how you can understand where your clients are at, look at different strategies to help them, and then provide recommendations that could change their life financially. And so I had done my diploma in financial planning and was lined up for a position that I was planning to start in. And it was a few months off starting. And then I was so grateful. It was a new leader had taken over the coaching team in Queensland. So he was really looking to build the credibility of the leadership coaching team that we had at the Commonwealth Bank in Queensland at the time. And he happened to be at a branch managers meeting that I was running because the area manager wasn't there that day. And he pulled me aside after the meeting and said, I want you on my team. Like, who are you? What do you do? Are you interested in this? And I'm like, hang on a minute. I think I'm going into a financial planning role. And at the last minute took a bit of a side turn and found myself in a leadership coaching team. And we really built that team up in Queensland to move from coaching frontline staff into coaching frontline leaders, area managers, financial planning managers, mobile lending managers. And before I finished up with the bank, I was actually in the business banking team. So I was coaching leaders in business banking.
Yeah, gotcha.
In teams. And it was, what I loved about that role was just so much variety. You could just apply the leadership coaching skills across so many different business units. So I was part of the coaching leadership team, and they primarily focused on the retail bank, which was our branch network. And then I was empowered to go into all different business units. So I'd go into financial planning, mobile banking, business banking, and then I kind of found this little gap in what they had in business banking at the time. And then I shifted to actually be the executive coach in the business banking department at that time. So spent a few years, but this was the role one of the roles I loved most in the bank. It was so rewarding. However, I knew with kids that I was living in Brisbane. I was commuting backwards and forwards to Sydney. I reported into a team in Sydney. There was offsites in Melbourne, Sydney. The actual area I looked after was Sunshine Coast to Toowoomba to Gold Coast. which at the time I loved. But with, a baby or a toddler at home, I knew that wasn't as sustainable for me to give my best to that role, knowing that my heart was at home.
Yeah. Well, it does make it. It's not easy to do that. So I understand that too.
There's no right or wrong. I talk to mums all the time, and it's just finding that balance where you can have the career and the home life that you want. And for some people, that is continuing on with the career and just making changes to make that work. And for others, it's just understanding that their priorities have changed, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that we're giving up on having a career. It just means that we're having a change.
Yeah, exactly right. And so what happened after the CBA? How did you get out of that? Did you had an epiphany, obviously?
So it was when I was on maternity leave with my second child, and I had a friend who was actually one of my mentors at CBA. She was a branch manager that I had learnt off when I was in those younger years and went into the branch manager role. She was one of my mentors, and she had started her own digital marketing company. We're still good friends today, and she had been talking to me for years about joining her business and coming to work for her. And she goes, I know you don't know anything about digital marketing. That's okay. I can teach you that, but you've got the right attitude. Like, that's what I want. Yeah. And so she knew that my skills were transferable. And so I thought about it. It was a tough role to give up because I really did love that role. However, I realized that this was now an opportunity to find that balance that I was looking for, to be able to have the flexibility to work from home, to be able to, drop the kids off at daycare and, still be there, to take care of them when I need to.
Also, you're expanding your knowledge as well.
Absolutely. I went into that role knowing nothing about digital marketing and probably being a bit of a tech phobe. Like, it's not, technology is probably not my best friend.
Yeah.
But to go into a role where I can actually develop those skills, I thought, this is amazing for me. It's something that I can add to my resume or my skill set that I don't have. It's a gap for me. So if someone's willing to invest in me and train me in these areas, absolutely, it's only going to help me at the end of the day. And I can bring all of that now to my current role. So I supported businesses for a long time get rankings in Google and update websites and, manage their online presence and their branding, their messaging, marketing. And now here I am running my own business and also taking over family businesses. So I think that everything that's happened for me has happened for a reason, and I'm exactly where I'm meant to be. And all of this comes together for me at the moment to help me with where I'm at.
Yeah, yes, it's a stepping stone as such for you.
Yeah.
So tell us about that. So tell us about how the journey that you had with the online marketing and presence. So basically, that's what you're saying.
Yeah,
that's what you learn about.
Yeah,
so you have to learn about Google Analytics and the likes, I suspect.
Yeah, look, Google Analytics was never my favourite thing to learn about, I must admit, particularly when I got back Google Analytics 4. I think that was nearly the end of me. However, I primarily managed our clients that were local businesses similar to ourselves that are looking to pick up local clients in their area and expand their presence within their region. So my primary focus was working with clients who were all over Australia and building out their Google business profiles to really communicate what that business does, what's unique about them, why you should deal with them, and make sure that we were ticking all the boxes of what Google algorithms are looking for, that we've got the social engagement, and that those profiles were being found by their ideal clients. Not just being found, not just getting keywords ranking for the sake of keywords ranking, but getting the right keywords ranking so that they were getting quality leads through. And for so many business owners, they're great at what they do. Now, they might be great at acupuncture or great at coaching, but they shouldn't be the expert at marketing. If they're an expert at marketing, then they're, can be taking away from what their actually bread and butter is. And so to be able to outsource that to somebody who can take care of that for them, who gets an understanding of their business and is able to, communicate with them and deliver what they need to achieve their business goals, you just become part of that trusted advisor team that business relies on, which I like. So I loved catching up with my clients and just understanding, where they're headed, what's coming up for them, and how I can best support them with that.
And also to get the message out as well to the public.
Yeah, you can't sell a secret, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
You can be the best at what you do, but if no one knows who you are or how to find you,
correct,
you're in trouble.
Yeah, exactly right.
Mm.
Okay. And what happened to that position? Did you have another opportunity that came along, or?
I found myself with my study and working part-time, running my own business, and there was also a lot of things happening with family businesses. I'd become the carer for extended family. So there was a few balls that I was juggling, and I recognized that something had to change. And for me, I think for a little while that role was my security blanket that I hung on to, that I knew, there was a little bit of a paycheck coming in. I was comfortable with that. I knew what I was doing. I gave up that position. I spoke to my manager last year and said, look, I don't see myself here in a couple of years' time. Like, I'm looking for what's next for me. And then earlier this year, February this year, I finished up. I started to transition out of that role and finished in February to go full-time into my coaching business. And it wasn't until I did that I really opened up the doors to the numerous possibilities that I now have in front of me. And it was really letting go of something to create space for something new.
Yeah, gotcha. And what were you studying at the time as well?
So this was studying the professional life coaching, which I continue to, develop and study courses. There's webinars, online study. So I'm probably 18 months at least into that course, probably a little bit more by now. And even in the last 6 months, since I've gone full-time into my business, I've actually pulled back on the study a little bit just to create space for my business. And I've also been managing some family businesses and taking on some new roles and responsibilities, which I'm enjoying in that space as well. Which for me, like 2 years ago, running a business or the idea of, taking on roles in the family business was so foreign. The whole, I'd worked my whole life for somebody else. Like, I'd worked for a corporate, I'd worked for a friend. I hadn't, for me, it was a big mindset shift of going from being an employee to being an employer or being self-employed.
But you've studied before, correct? You've done some study in the bank, is that right?
So I've done financial planning. I've done diploma of frontline business management. So I had done study, but it was always work related. So I did it through my employer. This was me taking on extra study hours, which was on top of work. Yeah.
Sucker for punishment.
Yeah, and
sounds for me. I know how it feels. You got to try and pay the mortgage. You got to try and work as well, and you got to try and study at the same time. I get it. I did it for years, and it's very stressful. I came very close for a couple of times. I deferred twice, and the second time was really tough to come back. But yeah, I get what you're saying. It's not easy. You got to juggle everything, and you had kids as well. It probably didn't help either.
No, and it was the thing for me was I would jump into the study and the webinars, and some of them were at night time, but I was loving it. Like, I was actually really loving the energy. I was loving the content, the conversations. Like, it was filling my cup. Like, this was what I needed to top me up to, helped me feel replenished. It wasn't a chore to study. I actually enjoyed the study. It was then going, okay, well, if I'm going to continue down this path, I need to be able to find that balance that works for me, where I'm not adding extra pressure, on the family dynamic, on my husband looking after the kids, or, mum can't talk because I'm jumping into a webinar. So it was then just tweaking it, because I probably went a little bit hard in the beginning, and then recognizing that it's okay to put that ball down for a little while and pick up another ball. It's not going to break. It's just now being intentional as to which balls I'm picking up and which balls I'm putting down, and choosing to do that and being okay with that.
All right, then. And so you slowly went across to your new business. So tell us about that. So tell us about the professional coaching. Because it's international,
so it's through the International Coaching Institute. So I actually am part of the faculty. I do mentoring of different students around the world through the coaching school. And my clients are primarily Australian-based, so definitely not close by. I've got clients at the moment in Victoria, some in Brisbane, but they can be anywhere. South Australia. So I run a 8-week coaching program for mums called Replenish, which is really just about helping mums that are looking for, they know there's something else for them. They could be exhausted, overwhelmed. For me, life was about everyone else and not about me for a long time. And that got to the point where something had to shift. So I actually co-facilitate this 8-week program with another coach. And it's really just a bit of a reset for mums, just to stock take on where they're at, help them gain some clarity and purpose in their life, and look at making simple changes to, regain that focus and balance that they're looking for, to learn how to fill their own cup so that they can serve people from a place of abundance, where you're actually serving people from the overflow. You're not getting home at the end of the day or picking your kids up and you've got an empty cup and then you need to start giving to everyone else. That can be a really tough place to give from, and I've been there. So we work with mums on taking care of themselves first so that they can show up from a better place to take care of others in their life. And they can give the best of themselves to whatever they do. And sometimes that's really about slowing down and being okay with saying no. There's lots of different things that we can do. We just run on autopilot. And I know that was me for so long. It was just go, 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 go. And it's not until you stop and actually say, well, do I need to do this? Is it really that important?
Yes. Yeah, it's tough for mums. It's very tough for mums because it's in their nature to nurture everyone around them, and I get it. Like nurses, next level, and carers are even next level again, especially the female nurses and carers, because they're paid to look after everyone else except for themselves.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's really hard for them to understand that they need to look after themselves first. Because I mean, what you say, if you're bedridden, you can't do anything for anyone, and they have to look after you.
Yeah. And I know so many women who have been there, and I was close to there myself. Like, I was the person that had everything together. Like, I could take care of everybody. I probably wore the superwoman hat with pride for a long time, like that I've got this, I can do it. And then I realized that I don't got this. Like, sometimes, like, we all have our breaking point. And I found that point where then I was snapping at people, and I was, instead of lifting other people up, like, I was bringing the negative energy as well. And it can just be really tough if you aren't resourced with the tools or the awareness that we can actually change that. And that's actually our responsibility. No one else is going to come and rescue us. The white unicorn's not flying in to save us. It's actually how we show up and what we can do that can shift our reality and our relationship with others.
All right. Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. I totally agree with you that I saw this a lot in a lot of women. They get stuck, and they it's like a spiral. They spiral out of control, and then they end up on my door because they've tried everything else. They've tried the medication. The medication's not working, and then and and it's a strain on their relationships with their partners and their children as well. Like you said, they get a bit snappy.
Yeah.
And you're not the only one, Kerry. You're not the only one, Kerry. You would know that. It's
but the ripple effect, if the parents, the mum, the dad, doesn't matter who it is, like if they're having a bad day and they bring that energy home, guess what? Like that's the energy that our kids are picking up on. And if we're snapping and yelling at our kids, then don't be surprised when our kids are snapping and yelling back at us because they're learning their behavior from us. So I noticed that, in our family, there was a point where I didn't like what I was seeing. I didn't like who I was being, and I didn't like our relationship with the kids and how they were behaving. And I thought, this has got to change. This isn't healthy for anybody. And so that was when I was back into the personal development. That was when I found the International Coaching Institute. And that's when I stopped waiting for other people to change. Like, I wish my husband would just do this or, do that. Like, expecting somebody else to change to make me feel better. Yeah, it wasn't until I did the work on myself to recognize that I can actually shift how I'm showing up, and that will shift how other people are showing up for me. Yeah. And it shifts, what I expect from my relationship and how I communicate. And we're now in a much stronger position than what we were, a couple of years ago. And it's just recognizing that with the right support, we can lean on people who've been there before. I mean, one of the things that we live in this world where social media tells us that everyone's got this bright and shiny life, and, we're trying to keep up with the Joneses, and, that mum's amazing and she's doing this, and look at my kids, aren't they so amazing? But the reality is everyone's got their stuff going on.
Yep.
Everyone's got stuff.
Yep.
We're just, and I'm not advocating for let's go fill Facebook with woe is me. I'm just saying find your people.
It's all about perception. It's all about
yes.
perception. If you have a positive perception, then that's going to wear off on others. They're going to feel more energetic and more upbeat.
But so often people are comparing themselves to unrealistic expectations.
Yes, very, very true. Very true.
And they hold everybody else up to hear that, this is so easy for them. They've got it so good. And they actually have no awareness of what's going on for that person behind the scenes. Or what they to get to where they are.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. That's exactly right. All right. So tell us about how you've helped clients with their businesses or mums with their mental health issues or with any sort of coaching that you've done over the last however long.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I can go back to the bank too, because I'm sure you'd have stories from the bank as well where you've helped someone.
Yeah. Look, so many stories from the bank. What I loved about the bank was I became the person that the leaders could just talk to and be real with.
Yeah.
That I wasn't their direct line manager. I was there to support them. So sometimes they were talking about rolling out strategic projects and support with sales initiatives or getting their team on board. And sometimes it was, vulnerable stuff that they could talk about that was happening at home that was impacting how they're showing up or how they were feeling. And being that, I felt very privileged and grateful to be that person that they felt safe having those conversations with to help them work through any challenges they might have in their life at that time so that they could show up as an authentic leader that was leading from a congruent place that matched their values and that shows for a team. They know if you're saying the company line and passing things down that you don't believe in, and they know when you've got their back and when you're inspiring people to actually follow you rather than managing them to, spreadsheets and things. So I loved that I could work with leaders on helping them bring out the best in their team and seeing those results. We'd go in and do focuses for a couple of months where I'd just work with, say, 3 leaders that run a particular team, might be Brisbane CBD or Sunny Coast, and work on different sales initiatives, understanding capability gaps and go in and build those skills, close the gaps, and help build capability with their team so that then they could achieve the outcomes that they were looking to do. So rather than going in and just, managing goals and performance results, it was actually looking at gaps and closing the capability gaps so that we then had motivated staff that were ready to take action. And we built skills and developed people that were then more capable and willing to do their roles. So that was really the banking side of it. What I love about what I'm doing now is that I'm pretty much coaching myself. Like a lot of the women that are attracted to me or resonate with my story, I seem to be attracting women who are in those leadership roles, similar to what I have held in the past. So they have significant responsibilities, and from the outside might, look like they're doing an amazing job. Like these are incredibly capable women in their role. However, they're looking to access the next level, or they're looking at what's next for them. So they're just looking for someone to help guide them in tapping into how do they get to that next level, or how do they perhaps shift, like recognize that they can release some of the pressure or the expectations that they have on themselves and start to think about what changes they could gradually make in their life to achieve a different outcome rather than running on autopilot. So if I think back to one of my clients that recently did the 8-week Replenish program, for her, it was some of the, simple things that she could change in her life that have made a big difference. And she's spoken, I say simple things, they're really, some of them are quite significant. Like even putting in boundaries at work. She was the type of person that was such a reliable staff member that would just take on the extra responsibility. Someone else at work, was struggling and having time off, and they're like, can you just do this? Can you do that? And she would always just step in and do it. Your ideal staff member, but it was grinding her. It wasn't, she was exhausted and ready to burn out. So she had negotiated different working hours. We talked about how to have the conversation with her employer, what type of personality she's dealing with, as to how to best approach that conversation, how to put the boundaries in place with work. She's now in a position where she is starting to take action to start networking and build her own business where she is going to go out on her own. And it was really just building her confidence from it. What do you want? What could this look like? And starting to expand her awareness to the possibilities that are available to her, and then build her confidence to understand that she can actually have that. She can create that. It's just starting to see what that might look like and starting to take action towards that. So she is well on her way and in a completely different space to when we started working together, that it's just so rewarding and so beautiful to see the impact that that's had for her personally, but then also for her husband and for her children, because it's, it affects everybody.
Mm-hmm.
When mum's in a good place, everyone tends to be in a good place.
Happy wife.
That's right. Happy wife,
happy life.
And, yeah, very much so. The same for kids. So there were times where, she started to get back into exercising and, getting those good endorphins going and doing something for herself, like have that little bit of mummy time out that you plan into your week, and then coming home. And I remember one night she said, look, the kids were tired after being at the gym. And so she said, well, instead of having a shower tonight, like we're just jumping in the pool, and just did something completely left field with the kids, and they had a swim and got changed in their jammies and went to bed. You know what? Like sometimes that's okay. Like it doesn't have to be, the
same old routine.
Rigid, because that's how we've always done it. And it was, starting to plan meals a little bit differently, or her husband works away quite a bit. So knowing that it's okay to just have tuck shop a couple of days that week instead of doing lunch boxes every day, just simply ordering tuck shop for 2 days a week really just lifted the load that was on her.
It takes the time away. Yep.
Simple things, but she was able to implement those, and it was big changes for her. It's like all those little things add up.
Yeah, I get it. All right, so have you got any other testimonials that you've got?
Yeah, look, for some people, I love doing. What really lights me up is when coaching sessions. I don't know where they're going to go when I start a coaching session. I'll be exploring with the client where their thinking's at, where their mindset's at, what, perhaps beliefs they've created, or where different thoughts come from. And quite often we'll go back and unpack, and I'll explore with them. And this is where the hypnotherapy training really comes in to help, is really getting past that conscious mind. So people like to try and think their way out of things. And once we actually get them to slow down and allow their subconscious mind to just take over, it can find all the answers. They have all the answers within them. And I can help guide them back to memories that they've had, from when they're like 4 years old. I'm thinking of one at the moment where one of the beautiful women I was coaching had created an identity about herself from when she was 4 years old, and she got up and, had an experience with her family and her parents, and I won't go into the details of it in case she watches this podcast, but just being able for her
you're not naming her, so it doesn't matter.
No, I'm not naming her, but like just a really genuine moment when she was 4 years old. It was an innocent moment, but what she made that mean and has carried through her life into her 40s, going back and unpacking what actually happened, what she made that mean, and how she can actually change what she made that mean now and give that little girl who was 4 years old what she needed at the time.
Yeah.
It's just, wow. Like, clients just have some of the most amazing breakthroughs when we can just get past, those soldiers, our cognitive mind, that wants to think through everything and just allow it to flow. You can come up with, so many things that have happened in our childhood that have shaped how we show up today, because we still carry those beliefs that served us when we were children. Like there's a purpose for how we behaved, and we probably needed that at the time. However, some of those beliefs aren't serving us as adults, and we don't recognize that we're still carrying them with us. So for someone to be able to go and change a limiting belief and come up with a more empowering belief that they can reaffirm to themselves can just set them up to see the day differently and see the world differently, like just change their perspective. And it's like a massive release in their body, like just seeing people physically release anger, shame, guilt from their body, allowing them that space to actually feel it, and seeing, like I love that whether I'm in person or in Zoom, I can see it. I can see them feeling it, and I know when it's moving, and just guiding them to allow that emotion to be, and then allow that emotion to just flow. And all emotions are just energy and motion. So just allowing that energy to flow through the body and out of the body and release it instead of holding it up. And so often we try and, hold everything in. And it's like we're this pressure cooker. It's like, I'm just going to bury that one, and then I'm going to shove this one on top, and then we're going to get this one in there until all of a sudden the pressure cooker can't hold it anymore. And then there's this volcano of emotions exploding, often at times where it's not very helpful. So allowing people to release some of those emotions, empty those buckets, and then choose what they're going to fill those buckets with more happiness, more joy, being more intentional and mindful about how they're living their life and how they're choosing to bring that into their life. Get the balance in those buckets, because it can be pretty heavy carrying around the weight that if we haven't learned to release that and experience and express those emotions, then it can really not serve us well in adulthood.
Yeah, definitely. Totally agree.
Mm.
All right, then. Is there anything else you wanted to say about the business before we move on to the other questions? Because you've done well. You're up to 45 minutes.
Oh, thank you. I guess hypnotherapy has been really, we do some fun stuff too. So there's a couple of clients that I've been able to help them overcome phobias. So I used to have a phobia of cockroaches, and I could share many a funny story about cockroaches, like where I've been barricaded in my bathroom with towels under the door, standing on the toilet. My husband had to sell a car because there was a cockroach in the car. I literally screamed. He thought he hit someone, and we pulled over to the side of the road. I have swiftly unbuckled from the passenger seat, done a backflip into the back seat, and got out onto the driver's side, rear passenger door into oncoming traffic because there was a cockroach in the car. And so for me, getting into learning how to overcome a phobia myself, I just shared a random post on my socials last year at some stage. And then I had a couple of people who have reached out to me, and, we've just been able to release phobias of spiders. So one lady, had an unhealthy phobia of spiders that was impacting her life. So we did some cool stuff with hypnotherapy and coaching around releasing that phobia. I had another lady who needed to have skin cancer surgery. I met her at a networking event, and she had a phobia of needles. So she's like petrified, telling me, she's like, can you help me with this? Can you do hypnosis or something? And so one session, went to her house. We were able to just go back to the memory again from when she was a child. That's where this phobia has come from for her, and change the experience of that memory that is stored in her body.
Yep.
And she safely went and had her skin cancer removed, had a needle, and it didn't bother her. And just to know that, we now have the tools to help people with these things. That I was in my 40s and petrified of a cockroach. And it wasn't just that I was petrified of a cockroach, but then my kids were petrified of a cockroach because they saw mum reacting. But I was then passing that phobia on to my kids. I thought, nah, I've got to do something about this. So I talked to my coach about it, and he helped me overcome it. And then just being able to help people overcome that as well is, I know what that means to them because I've been that person.
Yeah, gotcha.
And
all right.
yes, I then call myself the cockroach slayer. So
more team. I was going to say, okay. So we'll move on to the third question. So tell us, what's your ideal client or avatar?
Yep. So my ideal client is generally a working professional mum, could be running her own business or in a leadership role, generally in her 40s, typically has primary school age children, and they often have health and fitness goals or just finding that work-life balance. They know there's something more for them. They might be a little bit, experiencing Groundhog Day or overwhelm, want better relationships with their husband, their kids, their employer. And together we can work on finding that safe space to help them explore the tools and resources available to help them, and just unpack what's going on for them and get them back to a place where they can have, through their relationship with themselves and understanding how they're showing up for themselves, we get them to a position where they're their biggest cheerleader. I remember one of the quotes from the bank years ago was being the master of your own destiny. Like, you really can shift your reality by shifting the way that you're showing up, and just having, I find myself as their guide to help them get there. And that's probably the main women that I'm working with at the moment. In saying that, I've coached people of all ages, and I mentor students of all ages as well. But that's typically who I find is attracted to me at the moment, that I'm doing most of my coaching with.
Very cool, very cool. So tell us I'll go to the last question, and then so tell us, Kerry, what information or ideas do you have around creating lifelong longevity?
Lifelong longevity. So for me, it's probably more about just living life rather than living for a long time. So if I'm going to live for a long time, I want to make sure I'm enjoying life. I don't want to just be getting through the day, waiting for next week or waiting for the next holiday. I actually want to make the most of today. I want to be grateful for what I've got today. And one of the biggest things that I work with my clients on, and have had to learn this lesson myself, is slowing down. I think life is just can be such a rapid pace for a lot of people that slowing down and recognizing that doing nothing is doing something, for me, was huge. Just it's okay to not be go, go, go all day. So yes, I can be go, 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 and I operate well in that space, but it's not sustainable long term. So I would definitely say just slowing down and really living with presence and gratitude. So being present to the moment, being present to, reading your kid a story at nighttime and just being able to enjoy the opportunity to connect with your child and read a story, not thinking about, doing the dishes or, what you need to do after that. Just enjoy the moment and be grateful for the little things that we have in life. I know that you're also an advocate for 10,000 steps a day, which I'm huge on 10,000 steps a day. So I wear my, Fitbit every day. Every night, if I'm working, I don't tend to get as many steps up if I haven't been to the gym or been for a walk. But every night, like this, will be going off at some stage in the afternoon to say I've hit my 10,000. Gets my little celebration. All the colours come up. It vibrates. But I love just keeping the body active and being mindful of what you're eating. I'm all for cheat days. I'm all for enjoying life. But for me, it's about finding that balance that I can enjoy life, but then I'm eating foods that I know nurture my body for the majority of the time. So I'm getting it right, 80-20 if you like.
80-20, yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Kerry. Much appreciated for your time. And we got some gold nuggets today. And so if you can put your details on my platforms, I will get my VA to give you the links to the platforms. And so if people want to speak to you, ask you more questions about your business and how you help them with their motivation and also with their businesses and also in their daily lives.
Yeah, beautiful.
So if you can give them those details, that'd be appreciated so they can contact you. And thank you so much again, Kerry, for your time today. And yeah, thanks again for the gold nuggets.
Thank you, Dr. Scott. Look forward to seeing you again soon.
Okay, guys, you've been watching the Get Busy Livin Podcast with Dr. Scott at the Sixth Sense Acupuncture and the Healthy Habits Club. And it was wonderful to have Kerry Hartley today from Kerry Hartley Coaching. Appreciate it, guys, and you have a great day.